Stugotz greeted me after the weekend. This was his hello. Was the phrase, that doctor you put on last week. And then Billy chimes in from the corner of the room.
Yeah.
If Tua lied to the doctors, should he be charged with murder?
It's a good question. I mean,
I thought the Tua stuff and the Tuanon stuff was weird and has been weird for a long time, unlike almost anything I've ever seen in this market because of the combination of 2 decades without a playoff appearance. And he represents hope and maybe, and that position, if he's good, they'll be good for a while. And Tuanon gets very mad, but I did not think they would get so mad that they would say that we should not have platformed Chris Nowinski, that we should not have allowed him to say what he said because, as Greg Cody wrote in his Homerific column, he is not a medical doctor.
Oh, we platformed Aaron Rodgers, and he said some stuff about medicine that maybe we shouldn't have put on air either.
Why would you censor these people? Like, why would you not allow them platforms, especially this person with this expertise? Like, I don't even know. This person knows more about this than anyone criticizing him.
People don't like hearing the truth, Dan. They don't want to hear the truth about what it is they're watching. It makes them uncomfortable. I would guess that's one of the reasons. Plus, they feel like he's a bit of a quack. I mean, they do. A lot of people were saying that on social media. So,
well, he's not a medical doctor.
Yeah, he also didn't really say anything that I think people would disagree with. Like,
no. It's the murder charges. It's the extreme language of fire everybody, and Tua should never play for them again and should never trust them again. Like, it's the extreme language. You can't say that he wasn't saying anything that was objectionable. No, we've never heard somebody talk like that about what should happen to the doctors that surround football.
Yeah, I don't know. The murder charge thing gave me shades of Adam Schefter with the whole assault tweet. But, I don't understand like the argument that he's not a medical doctor. If he has expertise in concussions and concussion research, then I think it's someone that's worth listening to. I don't know. I don't know his credentials though.
But do you lose an audience when you start talking about murder?
I know his credentials are that he's like the guy associated with that. He has been an activist for it for quite some time. It started when he was a WWE wrestler, and then he suffered back-to-back concussions, and then all of a sudden became like the singular voice that is associated with this. So the Quack allegations are funny to me that people just, I don't know how by now people aren't yet familiar with Chris Nowinski because he's known for this.
Forgive me. I did not know that you could be a quack unless you were a medical doctor. I didn't know. It's a.
What about Tom Brady's doctor?
There are all kinds of.
There's
quacks?
all kinds of quacks.
Yeah,
you don't have to be a doctor to be a quack.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the quack was the exclusive domain of the doctor.
No.
I thought I always associate. If you tell me who's a quack, I said, "What's the profession associated with quack?" It's doctor and only doctor.
Are you familiar with like the wellness space at all, Dan?
Yes.
There's a lot of quacks in that territory.
Okay. I would actually say the journalism space has a fair few quacks.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
We're talking about the difference between medical doctor. I had only made it medical doctor was the only one that could be a quack. Everyone else can be frauds. That quack is something that I only associate with medicine.
I thought I only really heard it with medicine, right?
Right. I mean,
You're thinking of a hack, maybe, Whitty?
Yeah, I've heard hack journalists.
Billy Corbin's a quack. I mean,
that is not.
I don't think that.
That's
no.
Not,
is he a doctor?
That's not the way that we. What do you think Billy Corbin is? Have you heard one of those? Like one
of what?
Have you heard one syllable of one of those?
Ducks quack?
Let's talk about football that
Were you
wasn't.
confused about whether or not ducks quack with the way you said that?
Let's move on to other football-related things from yesterday. How does it work when Stugotz's Jets are going up against Jessica's Steelers?
I mean, I don't care who I'm going against. I felt really good because I had Joe Flacco for a couple of weeks, and he kept us above water. And by above water, I mean 1-2. And that was enough.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Is 1 and 2 above water or is it below water?
For the Jets, it's above water.
I think that's just treading.
Treading, above water, whatever you want to call it. But I was excited to watch the game yesterday because I'm still trying to figure out if I have a quarterback.
Looked like it on the last drive. That had to feel good for you.
It looked like it on the last drive, Dan, but there were several cases in which it did not look like we had a quarterback for the next 15 years. There were several bad passes, several bad decisions made by Zach Wilson. But I was excited because I haven't seen a Jet quarterback really lead his team on the road in the fourth quarter like that, and he's young, and he's
2
cocky.
weeks ago.
Well, that was Joe Flacco, a young quarterback.
Yeah.
He was young. He's cocky. He can make some plays. He's mobile. He can move around a little bit, and he's confident. And so the thing I've been scared to say for a couple of weeks about the Jets is I think they have a good team. I think they've drafted well the last couple of weeks, and now the last couple of years, excuse me, and now I'm just trying to figure out if I have a quarterback. I am not sold yet, but I'm getting closer. And if this kid can be good, the Jets are going to be good for a very long time. And I did take a little, I got to be honest, beating Smetty's team, that was fun. Beating Tomlin on the road, that was fun. I think Pittsburgh might have a quarterback. He played pretty good as well. And so that was a fun game. But I'm confident about the Jets moving forward.
What are you basing that on Pickett? I saw Pickett sneak a few times. I felt for Jessica. I've been making fun of her the first 3 weeks of the season because I don't think her football experience, even if they go 8-9 or something, or 9-8, I don't think her football experience is going to be fun watching that football team play every week because of Trubisky. But
it feels like you don't want me to have fun, Dan. Yeah. It feels like even when the Steelers win, you want me to be sad because they might be bad the next weekend, and I'm not going to fall for that. Wow. Kenny Pickett, he played fine. He had a few really good balls. He stood in the pocket, took a big hit, delivering a pass to Pat Freiermuth. Yes, he threw 3 interceptions. One was the last play of the game, a Hail Mary. One was overthrown to Pat Freiermuth. That was his fault. One was kind of a 50-50 ball with Chase Claypool that, honestly, I think Claypool probably should have gotten. It was in his hands. I think probably George Pickens catches that ball. Claypool hasn't been as consistent as a deep threat. But overall, I thought he played really well. He rushed for 2 touchdowns. He looked confident. He gave the offense something that it hasn't had this whole season.
Looked better than Trubisky. Looked better than Trubisky.
And yeah,
not hard.
He's on TV right now. I think he played well. I think he looked impressive. I think if the defense was able to get maybe 1 third down stop in the fourth quarter, the Steelers win that game. They had a 10-point lead in the fourth, and the defense could not hold it together. There were guys getting banged up and injured, but also they've been struggling a little bit in those types of games this season. So overall, I thought Kenny Pickett played fine, and I'm happy about it.
How long are we going to keep doing the gritty for? Is this going to go the way of the dab where it's going on for too long? Because when Zach Wilson did it, this is one thing I was wondering. It's I feel like this is come and gone at this point, right? Also, am I old because I was thinking Zach Wilson's coming back from a meniscus injury. Should we be dancing in the end zone in our first game back? Because what happens if this goes wrong?
You were worried about him?
I was.
Yeah,
I thought,
right.
You know what? Zach, let's just go back to the sideline. Let's not get hurt dancing.
I thought we had agreed that the gritty died when Mac Jones did it with Chris Cody at the Super Bowl. I thought that all of us.
This was solid.
But both of theirs were good.
Yeah, but not that it was bad. It's that them doing it, the 2 people doing it, ended it for all of us. They did it well. Both of them did it well. Mac Jones was a surprise doing it well. Are you taking it away because you're saying Stugotz's quarterback just did it too poorly to kill it?
I actually think Zach Wilson's was good. I thought Mike Gesicki did everything he could to murder the gritty after his attempt at it in Baltimore. But yeah, to answer your question, Billy, I do think we have reached the critical mass on the gritty. I think it is very close to its end.
But I think what Billy is saying is if you're Zach Wilson coming off that surgery, just go to the sideline. Don't dance. Any dance, right?
Yeah, I would avoid,
right.
when you're coming off of a knee injury. Because, imagine the headline. He comes back, scores a touchdown on a trick play, and is back out because of the gritty. Re-aggravating his injury.
Be so Jets.
Another doctor under fire.
Yes.
I missed much of the 4:00 games because I was at the Tampa game, and there were only 3. Who was that guy playing quarterback for the Patriots?
Zappe.
Zappe. A
That's,
legend.
is that how it's pronounced?
What is? Yeah, Zappe. Yes.
Who?
Yeah.
I thought it was Hoyer. What happened?
Hoyer got hurt early, and Zappe. It was funny to watch the Patriots just run the ball. We watched Packers Patriots, and it was just two running teams in 2022.
But it was infuriating, especially I had the Packers -9.5, and I also fell asleep during the 4 o'clock games. I woke up and go, who is that at quarterback? You're going to have to say his name a minimum of 15 times before it finally registers with me. And I just thought, all right, well, the Patriots are going to be stuck on 10 points for the remainder of the game. What the hell, Aaron Rodgers? How the hell does that game come to the last kick of overtime against Bailey Zappe? You're at Lambeau Field. You're at home. Is it Bailey? I don't know what his first name is.
No, you guys are showing your ignorance. This is Bailey Zappe's stat line in 2021 at Western Kentucky.
The Hilltoppers.
5,967 yards.
What?
62 touchdowns,
Yeah.
11 interceptions.
He can sling it. Yeah.
476 completions on 687 attempts for a 69.3% completion
We
percentage.
just assumed that the third string quarterback couldn't possibly be any good.
Also rushed for 17 yards.
And his name is Bailey Zappe. Come on, let's be
He's
for
also
real.
tiny.
Yeah.
The spread in that game
he
was
looks exactly like Mac Jones.
That's why I was confused, because at Raymond James Stadium they had the red zone on, and I saw that the quarterback wasn't Brian Hoyer because they showed his face. I was like, wait, is Mac Jones like in an emergency situation? Is he active? I was very confused, and then I looked to the stat line. I couldn't find Hoyer anywhere. I guess he didn't throw a pass because Zappe was all over this place, and I was like, who the hell is Zappe?
I just saw Hoyer going to the locker room, and I thought to myself how far Belichick must feel when from all of the glory when Brandon Marshall's already putting him on the hot seat. Brandon Marshall has said Belichick is on the hot seat. To which Julian Edelman responds, "How many playoff games have you played, Brandon?" The answer is 0.
It's like a cheap shot.
I mean, but also accurate.
Not sure how it's relevant to
Something
the
I would
analysis.
say.
Is it a
I
cheap
mean-
shot, though, when it's a fact? Also, because Edelman really undercuts Brandon Marshall. Is Bill Belichick on the hot seat when he's going out there with Bailey Zappe?
Damn, Belichick was almost back, though. Winning on the road at Lambeau against Aaron Rodgers with Zappe.
The announcers were saying classic Belichick, keeping this game close on the road, Lambeau against Aaron Rodgers with his third string quarterback. You're right, Mike. He was almost back.
Almost back.
Close,
Classic
so close.
Belichick, 1-3, bottom of the division.
The Jets are way more talented. I've been telling you for weeks that the Jets have so many weapons. I tend to not think Zach Wilson is good. We'll see. He's finally in a situation where you can't blame any of the offensive weapons around him because they are really talented. Great set of receivers. The running backs are really good. Breece Hall flashed a lot
Very
yesterday.
good, yeah. Carter's good.
a really good backup running back in this league. So there are no more excuses for Zach Wilson to not show it. So if he does show it, I'm with you. You're going to be good for a long time. But if he doesn't, you still have a very good situation for potential free agents, trade acquisitions, or if you have some draft picks stocked up, get a quarterback in the draft because you guys are right there.
You saw nothing yesterday because the Jets down double digits in the fourth quarter. That's usually a loss.
I was impressed by the
final
final
he brought
drive.
him back. Yes.
That's still at a Tomlin defense.
Well, how
on
do
the road.
you guys do this, though, when Jessica says banged up and couldn't get off the field on third down, and that's how she criticizes the defense, but Stugotz comes in here swaggering with, I've got a quarterback. Like, that was also being done to them.
I know it's a Steelers, but it's a Steelers defense without TJ Watt. And that's
Fair.
not the same.
Yeah.
He totally changes the dynamic of that defense.
JJ Watt died during the week and then revived himself and then played on Sunday.
What did you make of that, Stugotz? JJ Watt, the other Watt, put on Twitter that he heard some reporting was about to come out, and he says, look, I just got my heart back in rhythm with I guess he was saying a defibrillator. And he's saying, I'm playing Sunday. And God, did he get accused of look at me, Louie, by our audience. Volunteering defibrillator and volunteering the matter of fact, yeah, I just got my heart back into rhythm. I'm playing. That's all.
But it's terrifying, isn't it? I mean, I could do without the announcement of it. Like, if you're going to play, just play. Don't tell me what happened leading up to you playing. I don't need to know what happened. I'm surprised he didn't televise the surgery. I mean, but
It wasn't
listen,
surgery.
He did
It
not
wasn't
have
a
open heart
surgery.
surgery.
It was not a
procedure, whatever he
surgery.
did. I mean,
What do you
whatever happened.
What do you think a defibrillator is? What do you think a defibrillator
It's something
is?
that helps get your heart back in rhythm.
And how
Am I
does,
right?
Yes, but how does
Yeah.
it how does it do that? You think it's with a surgery?
No, I think maybe you just breathe into it or something like that. I have no idea. I mean, I'm not a doctor, Dan.
You're a quack. It's
Yes.
it's a heart paddles essentially. Just shock the heart back into rhythm. And he was volunteering that he had used the defibrillator. And yes, it is. It just hearing
Did he
the
do
phrase,
it on himself like Jason Statham and Crank?
Dude, put it on the poll, Guillermo. Does J.J. Watt have a defibrillator in his freezer just because?
Is a defibrillator used for this? Like, I'm not sure. I'm looking at it. It says
Yes.
treatment for AFib may include medications, therapy to reset the heart rhythm, and a catheter procedure to block faulty heart signals. So did they defibrillate him?
Well, it was an AFib, and I didn't get what AFib meant. I just knew that he had an irregular heartbeat. Yeah. And it made it, maybe that's all that the tweet should have said. My heart was irregular, but I got it fixed.
Do you think that this had to do like with the Tua stuff in a sense? Like, because he thought that it was going to come out that this was done, and then people were going to say that he shouldn't be playing and they should have been looking out. So he tried to get ahead of this? Or do you think that like no one was going to actually leak the stuff like Stugotz is kind of insinuating, and he just wanted to tell people that like they got his heart right back on beat with the national anthem?
Let's start. Winningham, can you help me? AFib, I am obviously ignorant on these things. I don't know how one gets one's heart back into
I
rhythm.
mean, Stugotz is an expert on AFib.
Not just AFib. He's got, yes.
Multiple
It's
fibs.
got
Yes.
many,
The
many
only one that he
Plural.
doesn't know is the defib.
Yes. What is that? Defense against lying? I mean,
The idea that J.J. Watt would volunteer to us, I am overcoming this thing that we didn't know. It's a great question, Billy, and I'm not so cynical. I am assuming that Jay Glazer or somebody was going to put together a report that sounded scary, and I'm assuming he was trying to get ahead of it, but he did it as he often does in Captain America style. And at this point, because we think he should be playing with a giant American flag behind him as he runs all over the field, and he would have blocked 9 Baker Mayfield passes yesterday with that flag because there were 2 guys on the left side. I think I read at one point there were 10 batted down balls on Baker Mayfield because he's just getting stuck now in the stool of defensive people. But what ended up happening there with the AFib? Chris, what is that?
So it's not the AFib. AFib is a disease.
Hold on. Are you about to say fib?
AFib. AFib, it stands for atrial fibrillation, which is a type of arrhythmia or abnormal heartbeat. AFib is caused by extremely fast and irregular beats from the upper chambers of the heart, and so there are multiple ways to fix it. Medications, therapy to reset the heart rhythm, it's called a cardioversion, or, to Stugotz's defense, surgery
Thank
or
you.
catheter procedures.
say sorry, Dan.
No, he took the catheter.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I think
No idea.
Is this the thing Jason Taylor told us about?
I think so. Like that pick line.
Jason Taylor told us he had a PICC line running from his heart to a catheter underneath his armpit, and that he just got it heavily taped up, but that he was playing an NFL game. I don't know if that's what this is. We are
He
not
didn't take
doctors.
to Twitter to reveal that either.
We are quacks. We were doctors only on Thursday.
Just buried it down deep inside like a real man.
All of us were doctors on Thursday. We have done nothing here today other than prove that we are not doctors.
But can I ask you a question with Jason Taylor and this? Yeah. Is week 4 Cardinals-Panthers really that important?
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were only 3 4:00 games.
Yeah.
That was one of them.
Yeah.
So massive implication.
Must-win game. I
You
mean,
all
JJ,
watched.
yes.
You all watched way more of that game than you were planning to when you saw the schedule.
That's why I
no
took my
doubt.
nap.
No doubt.
It was a classic 5 p.m. nap. It was a 5 p.m. nap,
I
4
was
o'clock
out
window.
cold for 2.5 hours.
Wait a minute, Billy. Did you just mutter and embarrassed I was watching baseball at 5 o'clock yesterday?
Yeah, like the 5:30, I sat down. I go, "What am I doing right now? Like, what am I watching on Red Zone?" And I checked in on like the 11th inning of the Marlins Brewers.
Your choices were Russell Wilson, again struggling offensively. Baker Mayfield having batted passes, or Zappe.
That
was the red zone
What are
yesterday.
the Marlins doing, by the way? They're friends with the Phillies on social media now?
It was weird, yeah, because like the Marlins are playing spoilers, so the Phillies changed their like Twitter handle to Marlins Stan account, and then we're like tweeting at the because the Phillies are in line to get one of the last wild card spots, so they wanted them to beat the Brewers. So it was very strange, and the Marlins kind of took care of business the last 2 days, beating the Brewers.
Ooh, I want to do a jocular thing because Stugotz is feeling very good about his Jets. Can we make him feel bad about his Mets?
I feel lousy about him. I do. I need the Marlins to sweep the Braves this week.
Yeah. And they're not doing you any favors because they shut down Sandy, who could have got in that last start of the season.
We're doomed.
I had a conversation with my wife. I'm like, you know what? And Wednesday's a weird game. It's like a 4:00 last game of the season. And I talked to my wife, and I'm like, I think I'm going to go. Sandy's last start. Like, he might win the Cy Young this year. Like, it'll be nice to kind of go out, cheer him on, see what he does. And then, and I told her, but it's in the daytime, so I don't know. Like, we'll probably know by Monday or Tuesday. And then sure enough, like 20 minutes later, shut him down for the season. I'm like, never mind, our Wednesday afternoon freed up. Not going to a 4:00 game.
I can't believe that you're publicly admitting that at 5:00 you wandered away from Panthers, Cardinals, Broncos, Raiders,
And Zappe.
and Zappe. And
Zappe was enough to keep me watching football.
You guys are being
He
very
was, yeah.
disrespectful to the CUSA winner.
two running teams, the Patriots and the Packers. But I will admit, Billy, I've got to admit, Yelich came up, great play at the plate. Great play at the plate. I did the same thing that you did. When in extra innings, I was wandering around because they've made extra innings better. They just put a guy on second base, and so I'm like, I can watch this.
That is a whole nother
Stupid.
thing. I mean, honestly,
Ruined baseball.
Are you not a fan of it? I don't love it either.
Because
but,
of the runner on second.
Yeah, I don't love it either. But also, like, if you just bunt the ball twice, you will score a run every time. If you teach them how to bunt down the first base line, all you have to do is bunt and get the runner over. And then just do a suicide squeeze and bunt, and they're not expecting it. But no one bunts. It's very simple to get a run in extra inning, but everyone's trying to hit a home run. God, I don't know why, but I still root against Christian Yelich. I was watching him in extra. I was, God, strike out, you idiot. And he's hitting like 230 with like 13 home runs, and I'm like, thank goodness gracious.
He's back to being a slap hitter. I said he was a slap hitter, and then he won MVP as not a slap hitter, and now he's back to being a slap hitter.
He hit like 40 home runs, and then he had another season, and now he's back to he's like worse than he was on the Marlins. And it's like, what happened here? It's weird. Because he didn't even get paid. Like, he got his Marlins deal, but I don't think that the Brewers signed him to like a big deal, did they?
Oh, I think they did.
They
yes.
did, Bill,
I
yes.
think he's playing on his second contract, is he not? I don't
that
think
explains it.
I think that does explain
Getting
it.
lazy.
He's resting on his
right.
laurels.
Jessica,
Well,
I'm-
I think his back is really jacked up, right? He's got
Wah.
bad. Okay.
Okay, very good.
That was a quack.
Jessica, I'm surprised to hear you say you don't like you prefer an 18-inning baseball game?
Yes.
Why?
They don't happen that often.
They changed the rules so much you don't like it. I mean, just putting a man on
I just think
second.
it's cheap.
Right. Yeah.
He did get a deal, 7 years, 188. By the way, did you see, not to kind of change the subject, but did you see Shohei Ohtani got a 1 year, $30 million deal, which is like an arbitration record, and he's still going to be making less than Tyler Herro.
Tyler's taunting folks on Twitter, too,
Yeah,
with the
that
baggy
tweet.
Well, he just got Jamal Murray money. He just got Donovan Mitchell money. Like he got paid like one of the top 30 or 40 players in the
He
league.
got more guarantees than R.J. Barrett, because R.J. Barrett plays in New York and was pretty solid down the end of the season. A lot of people were saying Tyler Herro's not as good as R.J. Barrett. The contract tends to disagree with that. The Miami Heat whenever someone overperforms their current deal and is in line for the deal, the Miami Heat always give them that deal. Always.
They're on the hook for a lot of
Yep,
money.
5 guys and a lot of money.
I think they're 151 million between the 5 of them.
154, I think.
But those 5 guys were a shot away from making it to the NBA Finals.
But
I mean,
Jimmy Butler's older, and one of those 5 guys, Duncan Robinson. That's a lot of money tied up.
I mean,
in Duncan
two
Robinson.
of them weren't really figuring in the playoff rotation by the end of it, Duncan and Tyler Herro, because of his injury in the playoffs. And in losing PJ Tucker, they lose a lot. And I think you sort of look at their team, they haven't added anything. The Herro extension locks up some more of your money. this team basically has to look within itself for improvement. Well, a lot of the East got a lot better. If you start doing the math, some of these decent teams in the East, Atlanta, Toronto,
Well, Cleveland might be better.
Cleveland,
Cleveland's
but
better,
they might be looking in the play-in, given how strong this East is.
This is interesting. What has happened this offseason, Stugotz? And God almighty, this ecosystem is competitive because they missed the finals by a shot, and they missed in free agency on everybody. The Tyler Herro contract, Mike, arrives, I think, to Heat fans as a bit of a disappointment where they now have to talk themselves into my squad only will be as good as the improvements of Bam and Tyler until Pat Riley has to do something else to get us out from the salary cap situation. But
The good news is, Dan, that was the case last year, though, too, and they made improvements, and now you're hoping that they still have some growth in their game.
I mean, they can get a Jay Crowder here and there. You don't know what they can get to do what P.J. Tucker was doing, strong defense and play in the corner, and Jimmy Butler's not going to play the 4. I'm just saying that Tyler Herro signing him closes up doors on what they could have done with Durant. It's an official signaling to Heat fans of, hey, you're going to settle for something less than what you thought this was going to be. Caleb Martin is talking about feeling disrespected because people aren't, acknowledging what he did last season, but they're going to be a lesser team. Heat fans have seen them be a lesser team because everyone else has improved, and because now they're only as good as a trade down the line, which is possible, or how much better Tyler and Bam get on these contracts.
Who was Caleb Martin going at? Fans on Twitter or his own staff? Because I thought Caleb Martin played very well for Miami in the spots that they used him, and they just didn't play him down the stretch. The Oladipo thing to me is interesting because I know for a fact Jimmy Butler doesn't necessarily enjoy. He likes Victor Oladipo the person, but he likes to occupy the same spots that Jimmy Butler does, so he doesn't necessarily like playing alongside him. So the contracts are now in a situation, because they struck out on the Whales, that Donovan Mitchell goes to Cleveland and Kevin Durant stays put. You're disappointed because you were hoping in all these Photoshops that you were going to make this marked improvement because of the new acquisitions. Okay, you have the team. You've lost P.J. Tucker. I really like P.J. Tucker, but I also like first half of the season P.J. Tucker a hell of a lot better than I like the guy that didn't even factor into Game 7. He wasn't even playing. He was banged up. He's older. It's a lot of money Philadelphia just gave him. You got to start Tyler Herro. And I think when we look at improvements that this team can make with the pieces that they have, if you read reports on what's going on in training camp, you're getting a lot of Bam at the 4. And you're at the 5 and trying to give different looks. Caleb Martin at the 4. Tyler Herro back in the starting lineup and really owning that position. So they're going to be playing a different brand of basketball, it would appear.
Yurt, they go as far as Yurt takes them.
Yurt
was very. I mean, he has his deficiencies.
We
but
should say his full name because most people don't know Omer Yurtseven.
Okay, you say so.
Yeah, big Yurt.
I enjoyed watching him play.
Yeah, Aren't those easy things to trust, guys, though? I'm serious. As it relates to the Heat, what Dan was talking about, that Herro gets better, that Bam gets better. That's what the Heat do. And if it doesn't work out, that Riley will bail him out. Like, those are things, that's what you trust about the Heat,
Daryl
right?
Morey says you know what a guy is 3 years in. You know what he is.
Yeah, but I think with Tyler Herro especially, he's had a very difficult evaluation. Think about the 3 years we've been evaluating him in. Bubble. A pandemic season in which he caught COVID like multiple times.
I was doing it for Bam, not Tyler.
No, I understand.
You know what a player is 3 years in. Whatever you think, I don't know if that's right what Daryl Morey is saying, but it makes me think that Bam is not whatever you guys wanted in the playoffs that you weren't getting from Bam. The suggestion would be from Daryl Morey's science that Bam is what he now is, that there's not going to be a big leap after that. Tyler Herro, you've just paid him as if you expect it from him, because it really is, Mike, tying their fortunes to, okay, Tyler, you're a legitimate scorer. If we're going to pay you Donovan Mitchell money, are you going to be Donovan Mitchell? Like, it's not an unfair request to make of a starter you're paying like that.
Certainly
who
can't be
like
defensively.
That. No, but he has been. But he has been.
No, they go at him. It was very clear what shots were available to Miami in that final round against Boston. You missed Tyler Herro. the mid-range jumpers were there. The kind of contested shots that Tyler Herro makes and got that contract on were there. They certainly missed Tyler Herro. For whatever reason, wasn't a talking point. There's no real excuses when you lose out to the Boston Celtics, and you won't hear that from the organization. But that's a massive injury. He won it by a large amount that sixth man of the year. He was hugely important to them.
Well, I don't even think that injury was as big as Boston's Robert Williams injury. Boston,
true.
Boston was better last year. Now everybody's trying to get where Boston is. It really is an amazing thing to look at, Stugotz, that you're a shot away, and now Whittingham saying play in. You're a shot because of how much better everyone else
more
got.
likely, I would say it's right now, looking at the roster, it's probably more likely that they're facing a play-in battle as opposed to a battle for home court.
That's disrespectful to what they've done to say that.
Yeah.
Well, and I also think it's disrespectful to their regular season pedigree. I think in terms of playoff competition, they'll struggle this year, but it's a team that shows up for the regular season every year. They always outperform whatever people expect of them. So I think from a regular season standpoint, they could actually be okay.
Last season, they won so many games that they had no business winning because they had people out from injury or protocols or personal issues, and they would just go like that Brooklyn game where you look at the roster that actually won that game, and they had no business winning that game. So I just think that it's not. I understand Dan saying that it's disrespectful to Miami. To me, I'm really just really pumping up the other teams in the Eastern Conference. I thought that they did wonderfully in improving their rosters from Atlanta on down. So,
what kind of sports fan is that?
Wonderfully
positive guy.
Well, we're a year older. We have a lot of questions.
I just want to salute everybody for getting better.
Yeah.
Way to go, Hawks.
Yeah, good job, guys.
way to make a roster
Congratulations,
responsibly
Cavs. Yes.
in a way that is competitive to the Heat. I respect you, lads, and look forward to the challenge.
Yes.
That is not quite the trash talk of last year when you were biting the heads off of bats and screaming at people through blood.
Now you're tipping your cap.
It's very.
I'm a different man. And Middle Tennessee State lost.
Different team. So much humanity gets lost inside of those helmets, and then masculinity and football huddle to protect the violent business and keep so much of the pain concealed. But every once in a while, the dirtiest compromises in America's most popular sport spill into our living rooms as reminders of what we're watching, as uncomfortable and unpleasant as blood surprise splattering upon our faces. The fun and games pause for a moment then, and the broadcaster's tone shifts to somber, and we're left with incongruous scenes that don't ever look right on something called a field of play. Scared gladiators kneeling in a prayer circle, an ambulance on the 40-yard line, or a head immobilized ever so carefully onto a stretcher. This has always been the risk baked into this barbaric game America loves more than any other. We all know it, accept it, then ignore it until that nausea in our stomach reminds us of all the devils disguised in this deal. When it happened to Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, we were suddenly left horrified and helpless enough to join the angry mob in search of the soothing that can come with blame. How could this be allowed to happen? Why? It was as if all our brains had been scrambled by that hit, that video, that reminder of the labyrinth of lies we must tell ourselves about football to avoid seeing even the most obvious of inconvenient truths so that we may all keep cheering. A week ago, Tagovailoa got up from a hit looking so cobwebbed in the head that if this had been a boxing match, the referee would have waved off the fight in protection of the fighter's brain. And that's a sport where the primary goal is to do that to someone's head. The union that protects football players demanded an investigation into why Tagovailoa was allowed to keep playing after wobbling like that. A few days later, on too little rest, because greedy football has to own Thursday nights on television too, he was ragdolled to the Cincinnati turf on a hit that didn't look that terrible by the standards of the sport, and we all got a visual that many of us had never seen before in football from a quarterback. His fingers on both hands splayed and frozen in front of his face mask in directions they are not supposed to go. Athleticism short-circuited, all of us getting to see for ourselves without needing any concussion protocol or medical degree that there had been a scrambling of the brain's wiring into something that looked very much like a seizure symptom. It wasn't just the union demanding an investigation after that. The feeling of being horrified doesn't patiently wait for the results of MRIs or investigations or explanations. Social media outrage, as you know, might be the only sport in America bigger than the one that produced this particular indignance. This visual doesn't happen very often to anybody in football. That was part of the shock. We aren't used to seeing a professional football player look like a shaken baby. But it certainly doesn't happen ever at the quarterback position. The rules are different for them. They changed when Tom Brady got hurt once. So quarterbacks are playing literally a different game than anyone else on the field. Safer by rule, to protect the guys who star in the commercials and sell the game and move product. There are only a dozen of them, maybe fewer. Just about everyone else in this sport is a literal number, face masks. But even with all the rule changes, it isn't quite safe back there either, is it? Football had just happened to one of the rare guys on the field who isn't quite as disposable as the rest. And an adorable one at that. One we feel like we've known since college. One surrounded by hope on a then undefeated team that hasn't won a playoff game in a generation. A sweet young man, a baby face. The humanity was no longer lost inside the helmet, and masculinity in football could no longer huddle usefully to protect the violent business. There was a human being we cared about under those splayed, frozen fingers, or at least one we feel like we know, and he has never looked that fragile, that vulnerable, that unsafe. The horror of that made us all wonder with discomfort, not why we were watching any of this, mind you, but why the doctors and Dolphins had allowed this unpleasant reminder into our lives before bed. It was like hearing a gunshot at what had been a great party. But instead of turning and running away, we all went hunting not merely for the shooter, but for the manufacturers of all the individual gun parts. We blamed the Dolphins and doctors and coaches and the league and the protocols, and some of us even concocted a labyrinth of conspiracy and lies with our distrust of American institutions in 2022. But you know what we didn't do very much? Blame football. Maybe because that's the only one of the blames that would require us all to grab a mirror. People don't realize how big and sturdy even Brady and Peyton Manning actually are, or how much protection they provide themselves by getting rid of the ball so quickly and without scrambling around. They'd tower over most of the people you've met in your life, and you'd be surprised by how large they are if you stood next to them, because our perception of their size is distorted by the giants who surround them. Tagovailoa is slight by comparison, listed at what appears to be a generous 216 pounds. In search of flexibility and mobility, as the sack savages get faster and more menacing, the quarterbacks are getting smaller in this league as the players chasing them get bigger. The man who ragdolled Tagovailoa, Josh Tupou, weighs 345 pounds. It's rare to see a quarterback launched anymore. Hell, we've gotten so used to quarterbacks being protected by rule that we expect to see flags whenever that position or our position are jostled by the violence. Unnecessary roughness is the call, as if the entire sport isn't that. Tupou has been throwing around 216 pounds in the weight room since he was a teenager, trying to get to the top of bigger, stronger, faster in an arena that is survival of the fittest. He looks like he has 216 pounds of protein with his breakfast. From a different perspective, the 130-pound weight difference between Tupou and Tua is the weight difference between a teenager and a toddler, a father and a fourth grader. There's a reason we usually have weight classes in all our other violent sports. A boxer died in the hospital last week, 5 days after being knocked out in the ring. He was a junior welterweight named Luis Quinones, and he was 25. We did not know him the way we think we know Tagovailoa, and we did not have to watch it happen in the ring. But only because we were spared. We all know the risk in that sport, accept it, then ignore it until the disgust of nausea in our stomach reminds us of all the devils disguised in this deal. It is an oxymoronic ideal trying to make violent things safe. We can only strive to make them safer. The concussion protocols are inexact, especially when players are incentivized to lie in order to stay in the game. Fewer than 10 years ago, before there was a protocol, before football denied its concussion problem and then tried to make it go away with a nearly $1 billion settlement, a quarterback would have wobbled like Tagovailoa did, and we would have called him tough while very much expecting him to stay in the game. And here's another thing. The protocols can identify concussions, but not prevent them. They provide merely the illusion of safety, making us feel better about things. Football, by its very existence, is an exercise in brain damage. There's CTE happening on every field every Sunday, and Monday, and Thursday. Every once in a while, though, we all have to deal with that ugly truth together with an ugly visual as opposed to pushing it 10 years down the road where it can exist more quietly and alone as the ringing inside of a former player's head. But it is an exercise in gymnastics to get your morality and humanity and decency all aligned whenever something you love regularly produces something you hate. It shows you the myopia at the center of the spectacle that Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel, who really does seem like a kind and thoughtful man, actually said that he would never knowingly put a player in harm's way. Think about that one for a second. Think about what he does for a living. Think about how numb to carnage you have to be to not understand that as a football coach, all you ever do by letting anyone take the field is knowingly put them in harm's way. Once upon a time, in the Colosseum, the only people participating as gladiators in fights to the death were inmates and slaves, prisoners. But the glory and applause eventually became enough to lure volunteers. Every Sunday, on a day for rest and religion, cities gather around their stadiums to cheer numbers and colors and regional identity, and this habit is handed down by generation. The disposable employees volunteer for the money inside the maw of the machine, a machine that keeps growing, at least in part because it is violent. Those people out there are braver than most of us, or less afraid of consequences, or they feel so bulletproof with youth and confidence that they assume it'll happen to someone other than them. It is not in the nature of the people who do this for a living to listen to danger instead of trying to overcome it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing this for a living. It was Upton Sinclair who said, "It is difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends upon his not understanding it." You heard Chris Nowinski on with us last week. He was dismissed as a raving lunatic, especially by Dolphin fans, when he saw what happened to Tagovailoa, and he said all the coaches and medical staff should be fired and that Tagovailoa should not play again this season or for the Dolphins ever again. He was emotional and angry, and he also happens to have more expertise here than most. He's been a prisoner inside his own skull since he had to retire from wrestling at 24, Tagovailoa's age. He lives alone with the sleep disorder, the nausea, the headaches. He serves on the NFL Players Association Mackey White Health and Safety Committee. He's a neuroscientist. And he said 6 hours before Thursday's game that there wasn't any circumstance under which Tagovailoa should be allowed to take the field. And he said that the decision makers should be charged with murder if Tagovailoa died. The language he used was more extreme than any you've ever heard from someone with his expertise, at least in part because he hasn't felt heard despite his expertise. It is not hard to understand his frustration. Imagine if you had more information than most about approaching doom, but nobody seemed to be listening. Imagine if you were scared and screaming, but didn't feel like you could be heard above all the cheering.
I think people are turning on Aaron Judge the longer he drags this out.
I'm
with
sick of
Smetty.
him.
I am totally with you now.
Yeah, people
Thank you.
hate
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that Scott Hansen on the Red Zone channel was like, well, let's bring in our first double box of the day, and you'll notice that it doesn't have Aaron Judge in it. Sean McDonough as well on television.
Sean McDonough hates the toss to Aaron Judge.
Hates it.
I
Hates it.
told you.
Yes.
I told you guys last
Wait,
weekend.
enough of McDonough.
McDonough was getting pissed during the Wake Forest Clemson game.
Jessica, I believe you were a thought national and international leader on this. You dared to,
Thank you.
you dared to blaspheme against the cut-in. And Sean McDonough, that demo, the Sean McDonough demo likes a cut-in. Sean McDonough being publicly controversial.
He's showing Red Sox bias, though. Like, he's a Red Sox broadcaster.
In his defense, what are we cutting in for? I have no idea if he's breaking a record, what record he's breaking, if he's clean. I have no idea.
There's a tight game in Oxford, Mississippi. This is not a shared audience.
Yes.
And they take the audio from Aaron Judge. And I think what hurts the whole thing is that Aaron Judge has been terrible during these cut-ins. He's been god-awful during these cut-ins.
He's gotten walked a lot, too.
I haven't seen a single home run during one of these cut-ins.
Hit a dinger.
There's genuine fury at a watch party I was at. Fury directed towards Aaron Judge.
Fake.
No, real.
No, that was a tight game between Kentucky and Mississippi. I wanted to see that.
What you're watching that's funny to me is
More importantly, I wanted to hear it.
Yes.
Like if Aaron Judge is on the screen, I don't need to hear the play-by-play on that. I came to this ESPN game for Sean McDonough calling Will Levis versus Jackson Dart.
Where was this watch party?
Good game.
Cowboy Carls.
At his
You know,
house?
you know what was amazing about it, though, Mike? I was watching that game, too. It was a good game, close game, Mississippi and Kentucky, the game that I said they better not cut into, and they did. I'm watching the game. It was really exciting, like, great game. And then they put Aaron Judge on, and all of a sudden, I'm waking up 10 minutes later. Shit put me to sleep, Dan. You put that baseball sound on a Saturday afternoon at snap time.
Well,
totally took me out of the game.
the thing that Jessica is saying that I don't know that I can be stunned by, right? As we talk about the dangers of football and football getting bigger, and to his head, he's playing 3 days later. This is college football. It just like football is going to take Christmas from basketball. College football is like, get out of the way. You're not baseball. You're not bigger than us. Not your phony records, your giant star, your statuesque pinstripes. You're not bigger than us anymore. Like you're not in today's climate. People want the noise. They want their Saturdays, and we don't care about your fraud record.
If you look at the numbers, if you look at the interest, if you look at the revenue that it generates for the networks, it makes more sense to have an Aaron Judge at bat interrupted by an Iowa State field goal attempt than it does the other way around.
This is people with the sensibilities of thinking that Aaron Judge and baseball matters. It's kind of astounding that there's sort of this, like, I don't know, maybe I live in a bubble that doesn't care about baseball, and therefore I'm wrong here.
Isn't it also just your television partnership? I assume that what was happening here, and I'm not even indicting the president of ESPN, who is a giant Yankee fan. I simply assumed that baseball would make the request of, hey, would you do us the courtesy as a partner of interrupting your intercollegiate minor league football games to celebrate our record because you're a partner with us.
But what even is the record?
What is the record?
The record
Right.
is American League home runs in a season and Yankees home runs in a season.
And also
it's like it's an attempt to whitewash Barry Bonds' home run because Roger Maris has the actual record, and so Aaron Judge is going to break that, so that's going to be the actual record, not Barry Bonds' 73. It's an attempt to rewrite history.
If Aaron Judge plays for the Royals, are we cutting in? It's the Yankees. I think it has everything to do with the Yankees, right?
For me, the part that doesn't make sense is what he just said. This is for 7th place. They're whitewashing Sammy Sosa. He does that on his own.
Just hit a dinger already and be done with it, Judge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what's taking so long? If he's such a great home run hitter, hit a home run. What are we watching?
Billy, do you not like the overtness now, though, of going in and listen? This is the record that we're celebrating. And I think we can all get behind this in baseball. It's something we feel in our heart. Let's tear Barry Bonds down again. Let's take it from him. Let's take more. Do you not think that's what's happening here? They're like, let's celebrate a guy who's easier to celebrate than the guy we know did more of this, so that we could just sort of slink away from the steroid stuff.
I mean, I saw Barry Bonds on the K-Rod cast 2 weeks ago. I liked him. I thought he was really good. And also, Roger Maris's son, like, what's his vacation package? Like, what does he do? Does he sell insurance? Like, honestly, what's his job that he just took off like 2 weeks to like follow this guy around the world? Because it's not even the country. He was crossing international borders. Like,
do you think there's money in that? Do you think that he's
what?
the Maris name, traveling as the Maris name? Do you think that someone's bankrolling that's costing him money, or he's making money doing
obviously
it?
Were paying for him to do that, but
they better be.
Presumably, he has a life outside of just being the son of Roger Maris that he needs to get back to at some point, right?
What I'm asking you, as I don't know if you guys saw the list of salaries for mascots that was floating around the internet this weekend, but I think Benny the Bull makes $400,000, and I'd have to look at the list. But one of the mascots makes $625,000.
The Nuggets mascot, apparently, Rocky. $625,000.
And I didn't know whether trotting Roger Maris around as a baseball mascot, as the son of Roger Maris, to be like, let's celebrate our clean record in a broken, weird fashion by flying the Maris name all over the place.
We've done this show before, but steroids were amazing. I totally forgot Luis Gonzalez had 57 home runs in a season.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's talking about Yordan Alvarez and how he might deserve the AL MVP if it's not Ohtani and Aaron Judge. And he has the same amount of home runs right now as Rich Aurelia did in 2001.
It was an amazing time.
It really was.
And they want to whitewash it, and I want to bring it back. They have brought it back legally, and it's not as fun.
Sammy Sosa is in the top 7 three times.
66 one time. That's right. He hit 66 one time. Did he finish? I think there was somebody. Go look at somebody who finished 9th in the MVP voting with like 60 home runs.
I think it was Sosa, actually.
Greg Vaughn had 50 home runs one season. I bet you he finished.
Oh my God, it was
like
so much
7th
fun
in the NL.
So much better. It was what they want this to be. Then it was so much more fun.
Luis Gonzalez never had a season in which he hit more than 31, but he had that one year with 57.
I'm telling you, someone should look into that. That one just does not make sense to me.
There's 5 other Maris offspring. Like, do you think that it's only because his name's Roger that he's the one following? Like,
yes.
What about Randy Maris? Like, why is
who
Randy
cares,
Maris or
right?
Sandra or Susan Maris, Kevin Maris, Richard Maris? Like, why aren't we paying attention to them?
Put it on the poll at LeBatardShow. Are Sandy and Susan and all of the other Marises furious?
Randy, that's a fine.
That Roger Maris Jr. is getting all of the Yankee mascot money.
So it's over, right? That was the last hurrah this weekend.
It's over.
Well, no, he has to hit it still. Oh no, I guess because the season ends on Wednesday.
The season's over.
I hope he doesn't get it.
I mean, I found myself in the position of I didn't know if I should root for him to get it over with, root against him just to spite all the Yankees fans who were telling me like, "Oh, stop complaining. This is history." Blah, blah. Like my friend was at my house all weekend. She's like, every time he came on the screen, I would make like a guttural noise like
now
an
you're
orc.
active. Okay, so you're now actively being you're repulsed by
this
what
isn't
it is.
a bit, Dan. This is my life. Every time he came on the screen, I would be like, "Oh my God!" And she was just like, "What's wrong with you? This is cool. Like you don't like baseball. This is blah blah blah." She's a Cardinals fan, by the way. So
you would stomp away. You're not interested. You just gave up on baseball for putting runners on second base in extra innings. You've told us they're moving down here. Your Cubs allegiance is withered away because you're not going to get the baseball package. They're losing you as a baseball fan, and now they're actively bothering your parties and college football days because you don't want baseball interfering with your life. You're actively playing defense against baseball.
Is this strike 3? Yeah, strike 3. Oh. Baseball may be out. You're out.
But did you see that Cubs video with the drone? Because that was dope as hell.
And maybe, if the Cubs want to, I know there's a new DraftKings sportsbook opening at Wrigley. Wow. I know the Cubs have people sing the 7th inning stretch sometimes. Maybe if the Cubs want to bring it back.
Wow, you want to sing? You are lobbying. You are advocating to sing the 7th inning stretch. Well, let's see if
Very nice of you.
We should try to make that happen. Do we have the clout too? I mean, Bookshambi can make that happen, couldn't he?
Well, I think DraftKings could probably make that happen.
I hope he doesn't. Just of how
absolutely
shameless that was.
I learned from the best. I learned from the best. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to apologize.
Are you a good singer? Like, would you?
Well, she likes to sing, and we've already established with the musical and elsewhere, have we not, that she's good at singing? No?
Smetty, you have practiced the anthem, right? Or Take Me Out to the Ball Game, whatever it is.
Every day of my life.
How do we make that happen for her?
The anthem is Take Me Out to the Ball Game if you're a Cubs fan.
Sorry.
But we can, as you're actively being against baseball, though, I don't think that's the best timing. I don't think as you're actively 3 strikes, you're out. Hey, let me sing a song at your ballpark. That's probably not the way to do that.
Let's say Aaron Rudge was a foul tip. I got one more at bat.
Okay.
Did I use my terminology right? I don't know. I haven't watched a game in like 2 years.
She's out.
Unless you're forced. Right?
It'd be great if he doesn't get it though, right? Like if we're like, and he gets walked a bunch of times the next 4 days.
Well, they'll break in tonight, right? Because it's Monday Night Football.
No, they
He's at the
didn't do it.
Rangers.
They don't do it to
Stugotz, they
football.
didn't do it
Really?
last Monday
No,
night,
they
and
don't.
it was a Giants
No, they know
game.
better. No, they know better.
was
That's
a
where they draw the
Giants
line.
No. They're not doing it to the NFL. Get the hell out of here. Baseball can say, hey, the kids, the 18 years olds, can we bump them? Okay, we'll give you the Kentucky game. Leave us alone.
But it would actually make sense to cut into an NFL game because there's probably more of a MLB, NFL, pro sports crossover interest thing.
If he does it, they'll show the replay during the NFL game. Like you don't think they'll do that?
Maybe
Who's
at halftime?
Who's playing tonight? Rams,
Niners,
49ers.
Rams.
49ers,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
It has to be to drive audience because if you're watching ACC Network, you really love college football. You have no interest in this. If you went to ACC Network to watch this game, if you're a Hokie, you don't give a crap. But I guess they're just trying to get you in the tent and maybe make you tune in for the big playoff game that they have the rights to.
Jackson Dart is really starting to figure things out, huh?
Honestly, a little disappointed with him. I thought he'd
Really?
be better. He looks the part, though.
He had a
He's still doing
solid
that eye
game,
bar.
Mike. They're 5-0.
There were like 17 scouts from the NFL there. See, look what I could learn by just listening to Sean McDonough instead of Aaron Judge. 17 different scouts there because it was a good quarterback matchup. Will Levis is probably going to be a top 10 pick, and very disappointing. Lane
You
Kiffin,
think?
yeah, well, he's got the measurables. He
He does, yeah.
Mike Ryan has bolted on baseball and now is all in on college football because.
Well, I'm gambling again. I'll be rooting on my futures. I'm a little bummed, though, because a couple months ago I put a future on the Blue Jays to win the AL pennant and the Mariners to win the AL pennant. And they're going to be playing each other, it appears, in that first round. And that's a bummer.
That was such a cool story for Seattle. They have a 116 victory team many years ago. It wasn't even, I don't think it was Randy Johnson, Ken Griffey, and
No, it was
A-Rod
after-
together. It was right after
it was-
them with Ichiro, right?
It was how they got Mike Cameron and Brett Boone in that Ken Griffey Jr.
Oh,
deal.
go look at Brett Boone. You want to talk about steroids.
The
Go-
45 homer
Oh,
year?
no, the 145. Go look at Brett Boone. He had canned hams for biceps and came in and he, as a second baseman, go look at his numbers. And yes, they won 116 games in a season and then never returned again.
His slugging percentage went up 160 points year over year.
Baseball was so much better then.
2001.
What are the home run numbers? Go ahead and go through them season by season.
all
Second
right.
baseman, Brett Boone.
Home run numbers 4, 12, 12, 15, 12, 7, 24, 20, 19, 37, 24, 35, 24, 7, 7.
The RBIs are better. He had 141 the year he had 37 homers. God, that was
We're not.
good.
I don't think we'll ever get to parity in college football. But if you're watching this year, there are signs that there's more of a leveling of the playing field and some of the talent's trying to even out. It's not as predictable as it once was with the portal. There's a lot of teams that are hanging with
Kansas State got good because they got Martinez. They got Nebraska's
Dude, that
quarterback.
Georgia- I
Kansas is good.
Kansas is good.
That
yeah.
Georgia-Mizzou
Yeah.
game. Mizzou was up 16-3. And that game felt like it lasted 10 hours.
Yeah.
Because when you're leading Georgia, they had a first and goal from the 1 yard line, immediately took a false start, kicked a field goal, and that felt like the end of the game. Because if they had gone up three
That was the
scores,
end of the
that was the
game.
end of the game. Because if they got up 3 scores, they have a chance. But you're trying to hang on to a lead against Georgia for 25 football minutes, and it felt like it lasted for 5 hours.
This is a big, actually everyone's bad year in college football. They happen every few years where it's like, ooh, are there really any good teams? Because it seems like there's a few teams at the top of the pack that are beatable. Alabama struggled this weekend against
Alabama
Arkansas.
on the road, right? Alabama
Bryce
on the
Young
road.
got hurt, but he was probably coming back.
Well, but
Georgia's-
struggled. You
Georgia's-
say they struggled, but Bryce Young gets hurt, and then the next guy they put at quarterback is running 75 yards.
He's
He looks
great.
so
He's
fast.
So,
Yes.
he's
But
so
if-
big and fast.
He was so big and fast, but if like Arkansas got right back into that game. He's certainly not Bryce Young.
And they struggled against Texas. It wasn't just this weekend, but the top teams have all struggled at points this season. And then everything behind the top 5 teams.
Yeah, anybody can beat anybody. Anybody can beat anybody.
Well,
Yeah,
but
it's
when you
crazy.
guys say
Alabama's going to get caught on the road, it feels like. The last 2 years, they're not that amazing on the road. And
Mike, they won
overwhelming.
49-26 with a backup quarterback
understand.
against
It was a
Arkansas.
5-point game after 3 quarters.
I know,
right?
but-
And by the way, I think the game to identify for that at Tennessee in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a great
Okay,
game.
just for a second,
At
though, okay?
Mississippi,
Because
too.
Alabama went up very fast in that game, and Arkansas was looking scared. And then Arkansas rallied, and then with their backup quarterback, Alabama ends up swamping Arkansas. When you say it's a year, Jessica, for everyone being bad, tell me, because I did not see. I just saw that Missouri was kicking a lot of field goals, and I did not see all the play that Whittingham is saying it's 25 minutes long. But what I assume there is that the Georgia defensive line was being sort of this ravenous thing that is desperation at the height that kept Missouri from being able to score. But that's what's left of the Georgia Empire is whatever desperation they can summon along the defensive line.
I was just stunned by what was happening because Mizzou sucks. Mizzou's not good. And they almost beat what was the one thing that we thought we could count on. The reigning champ, considering how they took care of Oregon. But then they struggled against Kent State, and you're like, maybe they took that one lazily, a bad approach to it. They had to escape against Mizzou. Which
They lost
again,
to Auburn, Mike.
Mizzou sucks.
Right. Yeah.
Mizzou's not good.
They beat Sanford by 33, right? It wasn't. They haven't been what they were last year. They
I
haven't
can't
been.
do transitive property anymore in college football, and it's bothering the shit out of me. I have no idea.
Too many changes,
A
yeah.
team can lose to Appalachian State. A team can get boat raced by James Madison, and they can be within a score of Georgia. It's weird in college football. I love watching it. More so now when it's not being interrupted by Aaron Judge. Is what I'm saying. These games are huge.
We know Michigan's good, right?
We think.
I think, but I can't take any
They
results.
could be 11-0 going into the Ohio State game and still have not really played a very difficult Power 5 opponent. They've had a very, very easy beginning of their schedule.
Big Ten always kind of confuses me, and I never really want to watch it.
But it's
I always want to avoid Big Ten like
it's
the
all
plague.
relative, though. Like they are good in that they're one of the better teams in the country, but they're not. I don't think
It's a
they're
2-game season for them.
but
It's Penn
one of the
State
best
and it's
teams in the
Ohio
country.
State,
But
and that's
Jessica,
it.
if
Man,
you're-
Diaz's defense looks good.
If you're going to make everyone bad, though, if Jessica is now proclaiming that this might be a year for everyone being bad because you don't trust Clemson or Georgia, you don't believe that it's going to be what the last 10 years have been, which is it's Alabama or Georgia, and that's it. Maybe Clemson
Or
sneaks in from the
Clemson's
side,
won two, and Georgia's
Ohio
only won
State will
one,
be one
just
of the
as a reminder.
They'll be in the top 4, and a Notre Dame will sneak in, but it'll be the same 7 teams over 10 years.
Man, it just feels like the Big Ten is just pulling everybody back to their pack because the 2 top dogs in the SEC aren't as overwhelming. So you're going to have a situation where Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan might all be in that playoff chase come the final couple of weeks.
That's always kind of the case at this point in the year, though. Like that's nothing new. And then usually those teams all cannibalize each other. And then there's the Big Ten West, which is like probably one of the worst conference divisions. In
I'm
college
surprised you
football.
guys are so down on Georgia. And
I'm not down on Georgia.
Georgia
Hold
blew
on.
out Oregon.
I am not down on Georgia.
No, I know,
Let
but
me
Mike,
just
they beat
let me
Oregon
state
like
that for the
49-3. or
yeah,
something
but
like
I don't
that.
know what to do with that.
Georgia still has a very good defense. They have the best tight end in the country. They could not score against Missouri, but I'm not like it's not a 5-alarm fire. Like
But
it's
Jess, that tight end you're talking about is Buxton.
Brock Bowers.
Bowers, sorry. That's
a good name.
Who is
You're
the
thinking of the
It's a
Formula
great
1
name.
reporter.
Yeah.
who is that Georgia tight end, number 0? Have you seen this? That is that can't be a tight end. It simply cannot be. That is
Who is
a
he?
pass
Who
rushing
is this
defensive
man?
end. He's number 0. He's 6'7", 270 pounds, and he's a tight end. Like he's running through this. That's not even Brock Bowers. This is somebody
Darnell,
else.
I think
Brock
it's Darnell
Bowers is a
Washington.
better
is
name,
a
though.
mammoth of a man. I'm watching him bowl over Missouri linebackers like they're running backs. It's like, who the hell is that? How could anyone stop that?
It's Darnell Washington.
Billy, what are you trying
I want to give Brock Bowers the
Yeah.
TVD NIL money.
Yeah.
Jeez, what a name, Brock Bowers.
Too soon.
you have him doing where do you have him playing? What position does he play?
Well, he's a tight end.
No, but based on
Georgia
your
Bulldogs.
your
Everybody knows Brock Bowers. 6'4".
But if I called you Rogue Scout and said, "Hey, I have a player named Brock Bowers," you would imagine he plays what?
I'd put him at quarterback.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
just on
based
name
on
alone.
name, I'd put him at quarterback.
I got a quarterback
100%.
named Brock Bowers.
Yep.
Did any of you feel yesterday? Put this on the poll, please, at Lebatard Show, Guillermo. Did you forget in the morning about the London game at Lebatard Show?
There was a London game?
At 9:30 in the morning, you
Singapore
had
Grand Prix, Dano.
Little double doink action.
Yeah.
well, yes,
Spoiler alert.
an amazing double.
Little Vikings minus
doink.
2.5 action.
You got a good line. That is not
Took it early, my friend.
Andy Dalton
Red Rifle
was out there, and that game went perfectly football. You guys are so right that Kirk Cousins dangerous in a window. It's not a primetime window.
Hold on, Dan.
That was kind of a primetime game.
You guys.
I mean,
What do you mean you guys are right? Dad, can you direct the praise at me, please? Thank you.
It's very aggressive.
What happened?
Tony wants to be
He
saluted.
wants to be the Kirk Cousins
What praise
guy.
do you
He
want?
wants to.
What do you mean wants to
He's
be?
been
I
talking about
have
Kirk
been.
Cousins as an MVP.
That was last year. He actually had a good year last year, too.
Tony, okay, so you
No,
want
but
what-
Dan, you directed at you guys. Like, if I'm tired of people getting praise for my takes, it's crazy.
You could take all the Kirk Cousins.
Thank you.
takes.
Yeah, it's all your
They're
it's
all
your
yours.
domain.
It's your
lane.
Yeah,
It's all
it's
your
your
domain.
domain.
Just making
what
sure.
exactly
you
is
Kirk
your
Cousins.
take?
When's
Let's
his next primetime
right.
game?
Let's
Yeah.
establish.
Don't worry about that.
Let's establish the take now, so everyone
All right,
knows it's yours.
let me explain
Yes.
to the audience what just happened there, okay? And I don't blame Tony at all. Everybody's got a lot of opinions on a football Monday. We've got a lot of things to say, and that's where Tony had enough. Okay, he has gotten no credit for his Jags are good take, which he feels like he
That's
put
not
out there.
him. A lot of people said that was going to happen.
Billy,
A lot
Billy,
of people
please
said that.
stop undercutting Tony. Please just let me get through this so that I can explain to people that
You're going to tell us the Chiefs are good next? Like,
Right.
yeah, Captain Obvious over here. Sorry, go ahead.
Tony takes great pride in being someone who knew beforehand that the Jags were good, and now you are stealing. He's accusing the room. He's accused the entire room of stealing his good football takes, and now he just barged in and said, "That's mine. I'm going to derail the entire show. I insist on being saluted for Kirk Cousins is good in a certain window."
Yeah, exactly. I don't understand where the question is here. Like, Kirk Cousins is great. With 2 minutes left, there is nobody who I'd rather have other than Kirk Cousins.
Okay,
Right.
Kirk
that's
Cousins will
very
get you
strong.
a touchdown or a field goal
That's
Right.
if
very
you need it.
strong.
But only on a 1:00 start or a 9:30 start in
he showed-
England.
he
Right.
showed-
Yes.
Problem with
yes.
Kirk Cousins is you need
2:30
it.
London time.
The problem with
lad.
Kirk Cousins is you need the 2-minute drive against Andy Dalton.
Tony, what you're saying though is patently ridiculous. You sound like the doctor. You sound like a quack.
Sound like a hack?
You sound like a quack when you say, "I don't want anyone more than Kirk Cousins with 2 minutes left in the game when Tom Brady's still playing."
Hey, did you see him yesterday? I mean, come on, give me a break.
Should he still be playing?
He looked good yesterday.
He played fine.
Mike went to the game, and I want to talk some football because Mike, Mina Kimes is reporting, Stugotz, that Mike Ryan is leaning Tampa Bay. This is Mina Kimes' report. I don't know. We'll get comment from Mike Ryan here.
Ask
but
Tony what he reports first so that we can get on record with that.
Yep.
I'm still looking.
that there's a fit with Mike Ryan as a Tampa Bay fan. He
I
went
was
to
so
the
offended
game.
by that text. Mina texted that me being a Bucks fan feels right. Do I have flames on my pickup truck? Dude,
You're wearing a camo hat.
You did tweet about
I'm wearing
bad,
an NFL hat. And thank you to the troops out there that defend our country so bravely.
You tweeted about bad calf tats, but don't you have a shin tat?
It's a totally different thing.
Oh, okay.
And it's a good shin tat, not a bad calf tat. Totally different thing.
What's wrong with being a Bucks fan, though? I mean,
It does seem like
Tampa?
a few inches away from being a calf tat, though.
What's
just the
wrong,
whole city?
What's wrong with Tampa?
everything's wrong.
Good
with
people. Yeah, I like Tampa. Yeah, Busch Gardens.
Tampa with
I
Mike
am
on it.
I
Even
am
Tom Brady didn't want to stay in Tampa.
I am not a Tampa fan. I am very clearly an NFL fan, and I am reveling in it. And you know what? It's actually a hit at parties and at games. Everyone loves that I'm just standing up and saying both teams have fun. They like it.
And Mike, I think honestly, so far this season, I do feel like you're winning in just being a free agent. And I'll tell you why. Because I forget about the London game for a moment, and then I wander over, and I'm like, Latavius Murray, a Saint? Okay. Okay. And then I'm like, this isn't good football, right? The Vikings are better. The Saints are on like their third quarterback, and Jameis Winston was trying to play with a broken back. We're a month in. The Saints aren't going to have much Andy Dalton, really. We're going to go back to Andy Dalton. And then I'm like, really? This is what I'm doing with my morning? Really? I'm going to watch Lutz try 60-yard field goals? How am I going to feel about my life of here? I'm going to be 9 hours in front of the television, feel kind of gross about myself at the end of this. But it's going to begin with me watching 60-yard field goals from Lutz, and then he kicks it, and I'm like, motherfuck, they got me again.
Yeah, it's great. Great sport.
They always win.
Nothing stops the NFL.
I was glued to that game.
Amazing.
I was listening to the call of that. I turned on the television feed, and I was driving home, and you hear silence for 15 seconds as the replay runs, and at the end of it, you just hear Mark Sanchez go, "Oh." That was it. That's all I heard. That was the only description I heard of the whole thing.
What a cruel bounce. It was so cruel.
Unbelievable.
Like 3/4 of the ball was over the crossbar. It just took like a funky bounce off of it and bounced out. Can you imagine? I mean, what a great moment for Will Lutz. Taken from him, robbed.
Mike, this is what I'm telling you, okay? And I think football, great as it is, needs to change the rules. So if you're down 30 and you could do what Lutz did from 60, you win the game automatically with the incredible...
It's a 31-point play?
Yes, with the incredible... Right.
Crazy.
What he did was so improbable that if the ball had rotated one different iota as it hit the bottom crossbar, it would have flipped over the other way and would have been an amazing game-tying field goal.
Game of inches, Dano.
Thank you, Stugotz. But they got me again before it even started.
Next week, we run it back.
Yeah.
Giants, Packers.
That's a good
Tottenham
one.
Hotspur Stadium.
Wow.
Is Saquon Barkley going to quarterback the whole game?
Danny Dimes is day-to-day. Danny day-to-day Dimes.
Yeah. That was amazing. They played basically a couple of series without a quarterback, right?
Tyrod Taylor just does not want to be a starter in this league, ever.
Also, rock bottom for Bears fans yesterday. All my Bears group chats were lighting up at the end of that game.
To be fair, the Bears play a whole game without a quarterback, so
That's true.
The Bears are not good.
How'd they send the Packers to London? Like, how did they agree to that?
It's too good for London.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
No offense to
What
London.
do you mean that's
but
too good for
it's
London?
too good for
They
London.
always send Jacksonville.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know. I was listening to the end of that
Andy
game.
Dalton is London.
I was listening to the end of that game.
You're right,
And that seemed like a great atmosphere. That seemed like a great, honestly, Mike, that might be a place for you because it seems like an NFL convention. If you look at the crowd, there's fans of all 32 teams in the stadium.
Yeah.
And they just get excited about anything big that happens.
They're sending good games to Europe this year because I guess the international series took some time off because of the pandemic. So Tom Brady's playing in Germany this year. You got Aaron Rodgers starting your Sunday morning. Yeah.
I don't think there's good NFL fans in the London games. I'm just going to say
did you guys not see the awkward moment between the comedian Finn Taylor on Good Morning America or Good Morning Football?
That was wonderful.
Yeah, he doesn't know anything about anything. He's just like, well, this looks sporting.
Yeah.
And
And he also said that all of the NFL football fans in the UK are kind of lame. Yeah. That they're not actual sport. Like it would be he said it would be like if you went to the US and said, "Oh, hey, aren't you guys fans of county cricket?"
I thought you were talking about the O.J. Simpson joke he made, that all the hosts were like super uncomfortable.
Oh no, he went
by.
there with the intent of making that show completely uncomfortable.
He made it so awkward. It was so great as television and comedy. I don't know his work, but he comfortably sat in the middle of a Good Morning Football, Stugotz, is one of the good shows. Like, it's really strong and irreverent, but they went over to London to do an outdoor show, an outdoor morning show, and a guy came in and just crapped on everything. They were doing, on behalf of the league, we're in London, where the league is trying to expand, and he just sat in the middle of it, and I felt bad for everybody on that set. That Finn Taylor was there to make it awkward. That was common. He was doing that on purpose. And he succeeded.
This is why everyone hates comedians, by the way.
No, I know. But if you have Finn Taylor sitting in the middle of your pregame show, you know he's going to make it awkward. That's what he's going for.
How do you know that? How do you know that?
I mean, comedians like to make things awkward. I mean, they do. That's what they do.
He's obviously lying that he knows who we're talking about, but this is why entertainment people, whenever you're making a show, they all hate comedians. Producers hate comedians.
It's a great name, though, Finn Taylor.
Guillermo, put it on the poll, please, at LeBatardShow. Do you got to know that Finn Taylor is going to do that in those situations?
What Finn does.
Do you think anyone in Europe like wants the NFL there, or they're just like humoring it? Like, this is something to do. Let's go to the game. Because like I don't believe that they're actually these great fans. Like, here's an example. I went to a like Manchester United someone else soccer game.
Man, you.
Yeah, when it was here at the Hard Rock. I could not have cared less about that game. But I went because it was something to do. And someone's like, you want to go? I have some tickets. I'm like, sure. I'll go.
So in England, you're thinking it's just something to do on a Sunday
it's
afternoon.
a something to do thing.
I think these are swapped niches. So while you did go to a Manchester United game and you weren't excited for it, there were a lot of people that were. There's like a million to like 1.3 million people that'll watch big Premier League games on NBC. And so but by the size of like you compare it to the NFL, it's a very small number. But there's a group of people that the Premier League have fan fests in Philadelphia. I think there's one coming up, and they've had one here in Miami at the Clevelander. They've had a bunch of these, and a lot of people show up for them. And when those teams come over, a lot of people go to those games. But it's a sort of small interest in the grand scheme of things. I think it's very similar over there, where there are some NFL fans, but by you compare it to football, the association variety, the Premier League, and cricket and their sports, it's a niche of people, but there are very passionate NFL fans there, and they all seem to go to all the London games.
But can we agree on this? If 50,000 people went to that same soccer game that Billy went to, 5,000 maybe are just they're fans of Man U, big time fans.
No, there's many more than that.
Everyone else, just something to do on a Sunday afternoon.
That's not true.
That's not true.
What do you mean?
Seems high, yeah.
There are many millions of Manchester United fans in this country. Like there are a lot of people that will travel and show up wherever Manchester United play.
There are more Man U fans in the U.S. than Jacksonville Jaguars fans in London.
Stugotz, have you missed out at how many Americans care about this sport? Like, do you not know anybody who has? This is one of the biggest and most rabid followings that I've ever seen internationally on anything that America has celebrated. Like it is. Are you just so down on soccer that you will not see where it sticks from any angle because you're always saying, prove it to me, soccer?
Well, I'm not familiar with Man U from the standpoint of how many people are actually traveling to see them play every single game, right? Like, I don't know.
It's one of the crazy, is it not one of the craziest, most rabid fan bases? All of those teams.
This argument is more so there's not a bunch of New Orleans Saints fans in London.
But I think there are a bunch of NFL fans, and similar to Premier League fans here, they just pick a team. And so there are probably a couple thousand fans of a bunch of NFL teams. And like, I know that the Miami Dolphins are very popular over there because there was a time in the 80s and the 90s when some people were picking teams that the Dolphins were incredibly successful. So there are actually a ton of Miami Dolphins fans in the UK. And there's like kind of a swath of a bunch of different fan bases. And like I said, there's like an NFL convention for these London games where all these people who like this sport, they pick their teams, they show up wearing their jersey. You see a Titans jersey in the crowd of Saints Vikings because when else am I going to wear this jersey in public?
But of course they're going to successfully grow their sport. They consistently outsource their product. It's the biggest product. Everyone in America.
But NFL Europe failed.
Okay, but
that was a minor league product.
But Billy, so you're saying it's not succeeding in London? You don't
I'm not
think
saying
that
it's not succeeding.
They're not growing
He's
the
calling
sport
them fake fans.
in
That's
London?
all.
I'm saying I think that they're, because there's like 2 games there a year, it's easy to sell out. I don't know how interested they actually are in the NFL. It's something to do. Go and see a professional football league game.
If we're saying that like the biggest sport in the UK is football, and it is by miles, there was a massive Premier League game yesterday at the exact same time as the NFL game. The Manchester Derby was on between Man City and Man United, and it was competing against the NFL game, and they still sold out that stadium of NFL fans because there are people who just care about, or like who care about the NFL more, and they care about the Premier League in the UK.
But
it's a small group of people.
Where was the Manchester?
Yeah, and we're in the same city. Right. So...
But like you'd go, like a lot of people go to the pub to watch a big game, or a lot of people watch it at home on TV. If there was a big, and if I said to you, Jess, I offer you
F1 was on probably around the same time too.
It was, yeah. There was a Formula One race on at the same time. But Jess, if I offered you a ticket for Manchester United against Manchester City here in Miami, or you stay home and watch the Steelers, which are you watching? Like you're staying home and watching the Steelers.
No, sometimes like you go to an event for like the novelty of it. If it's only in town like once a year or something like that, it just depends. I don't really know how to quantify it, but I do think it's popular. I don't know how popular it is.
Well, it's not massively popular. The American sports are flatly not as popular around the world as soccer is in the entirety of the globe.
Correct.
Like American sports have a massive amount to grow internationally because they're niche sports in every other country except this one.
And it's also you can't watch every game on TV there as easily. So if it's your one chance to like watch a game, you might just go because it's your one chance to watch a game versus like we're constantly inundated with it on TV. So you might not be as inclined to go in person.
Do I have this wrong though? I simply assumed all along that all of this play was a Shad Khan business play to have London open as another possible market in the event that Jacksonville would have failed once upon a time, because it's hard to keep all. The NFL insists on its stadiums being full. Like they will continue to dilute the product by making the experience at home better and better and better. So
they can't have one team in London, like, and have that be a thing that works in the NFL.
Well, I thought that someone correct me.
You
if
thought it
I'm
was
wrong.
a possible home for the Jaguars?
What have the last 10 years of data been then?
An
if
option.
This isn't just them ramping up to see if it's sustainable in that market.
To see if they could be global, if they could be international, to see if now maybe Jacksonville doesn't fail, maybe Trevor Lawrence doesn't fumble 4 times in a game. That's the first time that's happened since 2000, right? 4 lost fumbles in a game, but they do seem to be better, and they've been sending Jacksonville there again and again and again. I just assumed that it's to create options in the event of a team wants to move somewhere. They've now taken Vegas off of the table, and they were just built. They're fertilizing over there, something that can also be $1 billion property that would be unique there because they've built the fan base over 10 years of just sending them our crappy games at 9:30.
Yeah, they need owners always need a leverage point. The threat of relocation, I guess. Los Angeles and Las Vegas have now been taken off the board. In terms
that would never
of
work, though, right? Like,
What?
you can't ask
I
8
think
or
so.
9 teams to fly across the pond to England to
This
play a
is what
football
the
game.
NFL's been like trying to consider for years. They want to put a franchise in London. It's not a secret.
I think you can. It's once a week. You can get really creative with the scheduling. You ask teams like Miami to fly to Seattle on occasion.
True.
So,
yeah, but this team every other week or every time they're on the road have massive flights. And how are you going to have them play a team in California?
They'd probably have to do home stands, right?
Yeah.
Where like the London team plays at home for 4 straight games.
yeah.
Billy, people said the same thing when UCLA and USC joined the Big Ten. How are we going to get athletes to travel across the country for games? And it's like, we don't care as long as we're making
The
more
answer's
money.
money.
No one
Yeah.
gives a shit. Like there are
But-
a lot of logistical questions to putting.
But
a
who would
franchise
want to
in
play there?
the
Like, if you
NFL.
know that you're going to know what players. Like,
You might
how
not have a choice if you want to play in the
Yeah.
league. You don't get to choose where you play. You,
think
get drafted.
players don't want
or
to sign up
traded.
and actively play in Green Bay.
But what star is going to choose that in free
Yeah.
agency?
I mean, as opposed to Jacksonville.
What
say the
star is
same-
going to choose
people-
Jacksonville?
People say the
I
same
mean,
thing about exactly.
There are at least a dozen NFL cities you'd rather live in London as opposed to
But
those
it's
cities.
it's a massive
Not so
inconvenience.
certain.
During season, it's a
But
massive
if you
inconvenience.
Billy,
Customs,
you're missing the
passports,
big
I mean.
picture, which is like the NFL would have a new market to sell itself to and make more money, and all the other little things like, oh, we have to negotiate a CBA with a foreign government and figure out all the laws and all the taxes and all that bullshit. They wouldn't care if they were making more money off of it. That shit will get sorted out. If you're rich, you figure it out later after you get the big paycheck.
Stugotz had so little interest in any of this conversation, and then he stirred to life, and I don't know if you guys saw it, but he stirred to life only because he saw the window where he could use the phrase across the pond.
I sure did.